Hey, superheroes. We are going to continue talking about fourth grade literacy today. And our essential question is, why does cause and effect help us to comprehend? I think you know what all of that means. Cause and effect means why do events in a story happen, and comprehend means understanding the message in the story. When you see cause and effect, I wonder if that makes you think of a thinking map that we use all the time. It made me think of a multi-flow map. What you're going to see today on IXL doesn't look exactly like a multi-flow map. It looks sort of similar, but if you're good at the multi-flow map, I think you'll find that you'll be good at cause and effect as well. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to post where to go on your Google Classroom, but so that you know now, it will be in Language Arts. It will be in fourth grade. You'll find it in D3, Match Causes and Effects in Informational Texts. Don't worry, there will be a reminder on your Google Classroom. As always, let the speakers help you.
Read the text.
Okay, and let the speakers help you read the text. Of course, I want you to challenge yourself. So if you want to read it to yourself first, that is wonderful. But the speakers can help you make sure that you did read it right. And right now, try your very best to follow along while the funny sounding voice, no, not me, while the funny sounding voice of the blue speakers reads the passage to you. Oh, by the way, oftentimes, right before I go to bed, I listen to a podcast by a scientist named Neil deGrasse Tyson, and this is exactly what he was talking about last night. Was water on Mars? But I'm giving it away. You read and listen.
Scientists have long wondered if there is life on other planets. In 2015, NASA announced that they had found liquid water on Mars. Water is necessary to support life. Since Mars has water, many people have guessed that simple life forms could live on Mars. The best way to find out if there really is life on Mars is to study its soil and rocks. Therefore, NASA plans to carefully study Mars dirt for signs of life.
And let's read the instructions.
Match causes with their effects.
Last time we met, we matched, or we didn't match, we sequenced events in a passage. This time we're matching causes and effects. Let's examine what we have here. Cause, effect. So this time it lists the effects. That means the results of what happened. That means what happened because of the causes. So these are going to be our causes. Our effects are already down here. Let's look at this first effect. People think that Mars may contain some forms of life. They think that because of one of these. Either signs of life could be found in the soil and rocks on Mars. Therefore, people think that Mars may contain some forms of life. They both say life, but let's see what this other one says. NASA found liquid water on Mars. Because of that, people think that Mars may contain some forms of life. Well, let's go back up into the reading and look at our evidence. This isn't about trying to remember. This is about finding evidence in the reading. Scientists have long wondered if there is life on other planets. In 2015, NASA announced that they had found liquid water on Mars. NASA found liquid water on Mars. That's one of our choices. Water is necessary to support life. Since Mars has water, many people have guessed that simple life forms could live on Mars. That is why people think that. Because NASA found liquid water on Mars, people think that Mars may contain some forms of life. That makes sense, and we found it in the reading. NASA announced that they had found liquid water on Mars, and water is necessary to support life. So since Mars has water, many people have guessed that simple life forms could live on Mars. Now, there's only one place this next one could go, but let's at least make sure it makes sense. Signs of life could be found in the soil and rocks on Mars. So, NASA plans to study Mars dirt. That makes sense to me. Signs of life could be found in the soil and rocks or dirt on Mars. So, because signs of life could be found, NASA, the agency that studies space, plans to study Mars dirt. That makes complete sense. Let's do one more, and then I'm going to let you guys practice. Boy, I hope we got it right. Keep it up! Okay. You try your very best to follow along while the computer reads.
How do chameleons change color? One kind of chameleon has skin that contains 2 layers of cells. These cells contain tiny crystals. When the crystals in the upper layer are close together, the chameleon looks blue. At other times, the crystals stretch apart, so the chameleon looks yellow or red.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
Match causes with their effects.
Oh, thank you. These are the causes. I already know the effects. And the first effect is the chameleon looks blue. I think I'm going to go back up into the reading and find evidence of that. How do chameleons change color? One kind of chameleon has skin that contains 2 layers of cells. These cells contain tiny crystals. When the crystals in the upper layer are close together, the chameleon looks blue. There's blue. I found it. The chameleon looks blue. The chameleon looks blue. It says exactly the same thing. So what causes the chameleon to look blue? Let's back up for a second. You know how in a flow map it sequences events? In a multi-flow map, it also sequences events. The cause comes before the effect. When the crystals in the upper layer are close together, the chameleon looks blue. Option 1, the crystals spread apart. But up here it says when the crystals in the upper layer are close together. Quite different than spread apart. Let's look at what option B says. The crystals squeeze together. When the crystals in the upper layer are close together. That means the same thing as squeeze together. And when that happens, the chameleon looks blue. The crystals squeeze together, so the chameleon looks blue. But let's double check what makes the chameleon look yellow or red. At other times, the crystals stretch apart, so the chameleon looks yellow or red. The crystals spread apart is what the option says, so the chameleon looks yellow or red. The point of this is not to guess. The point of this is not even to try to remember. The point of this is to go back up into the text and find the evidence like we just now did. So, go to IXL. As always, make sure you're logged in. If you're not, it's only going to let you do about 5 problems. In this case, go to Language Arts, because if you go to Math, it won't have these problems on it. Go to 4th grade. If you are struggling to remember which grade to go to, just go to the grade that you're in, which is 4th grade, and select Section D, Skill 3, Match Causes and Effects in Informational Texts. I'm also going to put this up on your Google Classroom, so that will have your IXL assignment on it. And as always, keep in mind that I am able to tell who has logged on to IXL. I can see how many questions you answered, but even more important than that, I can see how much time you've spent on IXL. Because if you're just going through and guessing and guessing and guessing and guessing, and you do 100 problems, but it only took you 5 minutes, I can tell that you were just guessing. But if you do 100 problems, and I'm not saying you have to do 100 problems, but if you do a bunch of problems and it takes you a bunch of time. I can tell that you were thinking very, very hard about this. I would like you to spend at least 20 minutes practicing finding cause and effect. Great job as always, and we will push our reading further next time. Have a wonderful day, superheroes.